I almost had a problem, and I don't want you to have the same problem I did. I put the 12 bolt in my El Camino, and it's the pinion seal is a little weepy. Now, granted, I was warned about this when I bought it, that it needed to be looked at. So the pinion seal just took its sweet time getting into me. So I'm going to get this installed before I have a problem on track. Imagine that. They don't like having gear oil dripped on a drag racing surface where we have to depend on great traction. So let's get this little pinion seal put in the car so that way I don't have trouble on the track. Step 1, drain the sauce out of the differential. Now, I use the term sauce because when my son was learning to talk and everything liquid that went on like chicken nuggets and french fries and everything else, that was sauce. So shortly after that, everything liquid became sauce. So let's drain the sauce out of this thing, the gear sauce. All right, now that the old sauce is drained out, and I'm going to put the pipe plug back in, and since it is an NPT thread, I'm going to apply a little bit of Teflon paste to it because I just don't want this thing leaking. And, you know, nothing wrong with that. Just make sure that you're appropriately clean when you do this. And I realize that you'll never stop all the oil from dripping here, but certainly you can get close enough. And a little bit of Teflon paste is just going to help the threads seal like they're supposed to. You know, I'm going to move that because I just had a mental image of dropping the plug right in there. And I just don't want to have to go fishing today. I am not a fisherman. I don't pretend to be. And, yeah. Come on. Get you in there. No. Do it without cross-threading. Be a good little plug. There we go. Whew. That took about 10 times more effort than it needed to. There we go. Wipe off the excess and make it all nice and clean and all that good stuff. And if you got any junk down inside the little hex, now's a good time to clean it out. Now for one of my least favorite things in the whole wide world, I gotta remove this drive shaft. These are big and kind of in the way of the drive shaft. It doesn't hit when it rotates, but my goodness, it sure is close. The transmission's in neutral so I can wiggle stuff around. I'm gonna get this out, and then it's an 1 1/8 nut that holds the pinion yoke to the pinion shaft. After that, we'll work on getting the seal out after that. Filming under the car is a pain in the butt. So I have the pinion yoke and the old seal as well as the new seal. I'm just looking at this a little bit to see if I can figure out where this was leaking from and what needs to be done differently. Right on the surface, we are the seal that was in there and the seal that I got. It's a Yukon part number. They're the same seal. So I'm just looking at comparing how the seal fits inside compared to the old seal and the new seal. The new seal is a bit stiffer, as I would expect it to be. Before I put this in, I'm going to apply a little bit of grease to the sealing surface, and I'm also going to make sure the outside is clean and put some RTV black silicone. I'm using the right stuff. Pick your poison there. But on the surface, I'm looking at the seal, and the only places that I can see of any concern kind of look like there's this little gap in where it was sealing. Yeah, there's two places about here and here. They're not 180 degrees out, but I'm hoping that with a little bit of silicone, it'll seal up those voids in the casting and make sure that this new one seals, because I'm not 100% convinced it was leaking around the sealing surface. It may have just been dribbling around the sheet metal of the seal itself. Now, I know there is a correct tool for driving in seals like this. I don't have it. I'm making do with what I got. I've got a chunk of aluminum that looks like it's going to fit well enough to put that seal into place. I got my tube of silicone. I'm just going to go do this off camera because you saw in the last clip I knocked the camera over and dropped everything 28 times. So let me go put this in and I'll show you afterwards what it looks like. Alright, so everything's put back together. The seal went in nicely. I did have to use a ye old 2x-something, just a cut-off piece that I had sitting around. Actually, I had to cut it because just moving here, I don't have 2x-somethings yet. So I used a 2x-something to help get the seal in. The wood makes it is a soft surface to drive with, so it's not going to hurt the seal itself. Everything went back together real smooth. The silicone pushed out nicely, which tells me that it's filled the voids. I almost over-tightened the pinion nut. Don't do that because on these, that's a problem. It over-tightens the crush sleeve and causes excessive bearing issues. Luckily, I didn't, but we're all good there. Drive shaft is back in. I'm going to take a few minutes and look over all my previous work of putting this 12 bolt in, make sure everything's tight, and also grease some suspension points because I think I forgot those last time. Besides, a little bit of fresh grease is never a bad thing. I'm going to do all those things, and then I'm going to fill up the differential with the finest grade A dead dyno juice possible. So, check with you in a few minutes. So filling up rear ends is not something that's usually much fun, but the Moser cover makes it nice having the drain plug and the fill plug, so that way you can, drain and fill it correctly. You already saw me drain it, worked great. So I used the bottle. Since I had 3 of them, I had to put 2.5 into the differential. I cut it down a ways and used a small length of rubber hose and fed it in, spun the bottle up and just squeezed it in. Yes, my hands are tired. 2.5 quarts of thick gear oil, Gear Dead Dinosaurs, is a workout. So I'm going to get the last 2 suspension points, which I have to articulate the differential up, so that way I can get the grease gun to the grease zerks. Not a great location, but that's just where they put them from Dick Miller Racing. No issue there. It's just the way it is. So I'm going to finish this up, get it back on the ground, and this project is nearly done. All right, the El Camino is back on the ground. Everything has been greased correctly. Everything is tight and happy. So, the pinion seal, not terribly hard to do, especially if you've never done one before. The biggest, most important tool to have is an impact with enough oomph to get that pinion nut off. But if you've got that, the rest of it was pretty easy. You saw me take that thing out with screwdrivers, and I didn't put it on video, but I drove it in with a block of wood, basically. Just tapped it around until I got it to go in. Reverse disassembly. Everything's happy. Filled it up with a small piece of rubber tube. None of this has to be too terribly high-tech to function. So I'm going to get things cleaned up. The car's going to go in the trailer, and we are going racing real soon. We'll see you then.